Hello, scrapbook friends. This is Kim with Mom's Creative Moments, and I am bringing you today the 10th installment of our 12 days of Christmas layouts. And this one focuses on a template. So if you haven't used a template before, there's many different ways that you could arrange your photos and choose to use this template. There are many suggestions, of course, and the suggestions come on this piece of heavier cardstock that to give you some ideas to get you started. But essentially, you know, the sky's the limit, and you can combine the lines of the template however you want to create spaces for photographs that you have. As you can see in the example here, they've got photos in each of the corners and a circular one in the center. You could, of course, make your photos any size that you want according to what you've got, as I just said. So let me just get started. When you get one of these templates, the best thing that you can do to help yourself is to flip over this top sheet and trace it. And when you do that, at least with this particular template, I have found it's helpful to go ahead and identify the different point areas with a number. And when you do that, what you do is you, for some reason, I don't have a number 2 on here. That's odd. But when you do that, then you increase the probability of remembering which piece is supposed to go where. And there are quite a few pieces, so you'll see what I mean here in just a minute. You also can choose to purchase your template with these handy little clips, and these clips will clip your template to what you're trying to trace, and that can be helpful. Or I'm going to show you also another way that you can do it, which I find works for me, especially with a template like this. Sometimes you need to find alternatives. So let me show you the one that I did. This is the one that I put together. And you see it has many different pieces to it. And it is on a base sheet that looks a little bit like wood. And then there are some stickers. These are stickers that I've made some clusters with to accent it. There are no photos on this yet, but I can put a photo, a circular photo here in the center. I can put a photo here in the side. I made a little template to show you how you could build a photo. You could cut a photo and put a photo right in here, or virtually any of the petals of the snowflake, as it were. You could put a photo in there. The key whenever you're using a template is that you make sure you're careful to trace accurately and to cut accurately. And if you're able to do that and identify the pieces so that they don't get mixed up, then you'll be very successful and have beautiful designs. So what I'm going to show you is, here's the template that we're going to be using. And you'll notice, if it's a Creative Memories template, you'll notice that down here at the bottom, it actually says the year and Creative Memories, which is helpful because that shows you that when you can read that correctly, that is the upright side of your template. Okay, this is the correct side of your template. Often when we're cutting with using a template, the best thing we can do to help ourselves is to flip it upside down when we're tracing. That way, when we cut it, if we're not cutting exactly on a line, we don't have to sweat about going back and trying to erase our pencil marks. All right, so I'm going to set my example out of the way here for a second. I'm going to Also, just set my traced design just to the side. Don't get rid of that one. You'll need to keep that kind of close, because as you cut pieces, you're going to want to go ahead and stick them on your design. That way you know and you've got them in order, okay? So we're going to start by cutting the center piece out. And because I want to mirror my example that I already did, I'm going to cut the center the same way, with including these initial points on my center rather than cutting just a circle. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and use this cute paper, which is in the same, from the same paper pack that I used in my sample. And rather than cutting straight on like this, I'm going to flip my pattern upside down so that I can get a nice, I'm sorry, I need to flip my paper over as well because I want to use that snowy side with the trees on it. So here we go. I'm sorry, we're in business now. All right. Now, when you're doing something like this that has some extended points on it, you'll notice that my template doesn't go to an exact point out here because I'm going to include this point right here with my center. So I'm going to have to do some help where that's concerned later. Get a little bit creative. So you want to just hold your, you can hold your temple. Hold your temple. You can hold your template still if you're good at that and you're not worried about getting interrupted. Because you certainly don't want it to shift. Or you can go ahead and use some of your repositionable adhesive on your template or on your paper or both, and then it won't shift as easily, just in case you get interrupted. All right, so I did all my straight lines. Now what you're going to see is that, and it's hard to see, I know, on the video, but let me just hold this up. So you can see that my lines are not connected. And so now what I need to do is I need to go draw in a curved line between each of these straight lines to simulate the circle. Then I also need to connect these out to make a point. And those are just straight lines. So if you just grab your 0 centering ruler, you can go ahead and just connect. I can go ahead and connect these straight lines very quickly so that I have a point to cut. I know how far I need to cut when I get my trimmer out, or if I'm going to use my scissors. That's the thing about templates. Sometimes you have to use your scissors and fussy cut. Sometimes you can get away with using your trimmer. It depends on which trimmer you have. It depends on how comfortable you are with using that trimmer. Because if your trimmer is like your right arm, and a lot of us who scrapbook all the time, our trimmer becomes our best friend because we are using it all the time for everything under the sun. So if that's the case for you, then you might find it really easy to cut these straight lines on your trimmer rather than worrying about trying to cut them with scissors. I find my lines are straighter when I cut with my trimmer. But you have to know that you have to be confident that you're going to be able to cut that. And as far as these arches go, just a nice arch in between each of your openings will do nicely. If you're concerned about it at all, you could hold your template up to it and trace it. My arches tend to get a little bubbly, so they're not super smooth. But if you wanted them to be super smooth, you could, you know, hold your template up to it and just follow the arch of your circle as you go. Just kind of move this outer circle so that you can connect those 2 points. And it'll be nice and a little more level. My circles, as you can see, get a little bubbly. Okay, so we're going to cut that out in just a minute. In fact, let's just go ahead and cut it out now, since I believe we are good to go. And I'm just going to use my fussy, I call these my fussy scissors because they have a point at the end, but you can use whatever makes you happy, and you just go ahead and follow this line. Again, because we flipped our template over, we don't have to be quite as worried, because if we don't follow the line exactly, and again, you want to try to follow it exactly, otherwise it won't fit in your template correctly. But if you don't get it right on the temple or the pencil line, you don't have to worry too much, because you're not going to see it, because we're going to flip this over. Oh, you know what I didn't do? Those of you who have used a template before, you know what I didn't do. Okay, so I had this on here and I traced it just like so. All right. Yep, that's right. Okay, so I'm going to put a little mark on this point down here, because this is my point number 1 right down here. Okay, that will help me orient my center to make sure. I just put a 4 up here and a 1 down here, so that when I flip it over, I can make sure those points are correct on my template. Excuse me. That's going to be super important, especially when we are cutting the points for the rest of this design. Now, if I didn't say it already, let me just let you know, when you use a template, this is not a quick layout, okay? Templates require precision. And so if you are not a super precise scrapbooker, you know, you should still try it. I really think that they can be great help, and they can create some really great designs. But just know that this is not going to be one of your designs that you sit down and throw together at the last minute with a few mats for photos. This is going to be a design that takes some time, because you need to take your time to get it correct. I don't know. There are probably some fantastic scrapbookers out there that can throw these out really super fast. I am not one of them. I like to be careful. I'm gonna do these because I've seen what mine look like when I'm not careful. So if you can throw yours together and not worry about that, then more power to you. All right, so there's my center, and we're going to flip it over and it will be super cute and be the center of our other page. Okay, so now next we're going to go ahead and cut the middle points on our star. So I'm just going to scoot our center over here just a little bit. Scoot over. You can hang out over there while we cut these middle points. And I'm going to use the same material, the same type of paper that I used on my left-hand side of the page for this one. Now, once again, my template is upside down. I know that because I can't read the Creative Memories correctly. It's backwards. And I am ready to go with tracing this next set of angles, okay? And I want those to be a continuous point. So it's all going to be one piece. Each point is going to be one piece. So I'm going to trace these, but I'm going to trace them in such a way, and I'm going to pencil mark them so that this is the other side of our paper, remember. So I'm going to pencil mark them so that I know which one goes in which spot. So first of all, I'm going to trace, and I'm not going to connect, remember, because I'm going to have an extra point, but this is number 1. So I'm going to write a number 1 in one of the snowmen inside my design so that when I cut it, I will still know that that piece is number 1. And I'm going to need to connect these. And I can just kind of do this by looking at it, or I can use a straight edge. If you're going to cut this on a trimmer, then it'll be super easy. You'll make sure that all of your lines are straight. That's not a problem, okay? Then I can just turn it and kind of nest my next one, my number 2 angle, into the number 1. Now, when you do this, remember I'm tracing just the outside edge. I'm not adding this center line because I'm not going to cut that. Make sure you don't draw that in, because if you do, you could end up deciding in a moment of weakness or when you're not paying attention that you need to cut that, and then you'll be paper piecing a whole lot more than you need to. Okay, so there's number 2. Here is number 3. All right, now I could continue going across the page here if I want to, or I can, start somewhere else. I think I'm just going to keep going across the page because it'll make cutting it out a lot easier. Here's angle number 4. Arguments can be made that all of these are the same, so why not just cut one, cut 6 of them that are exactly the same. And while it's true that some they look like they're the same, occasionally they are not the same, so I just always trace them individually. just to be sure that I'm not missing something. Mouse keeps getting in the way. Okay, one more, and we will be ready to cut these angles out. And then I can show you how I keep track of all the different pieces. If you're a quilter, then you already kind of have a way of keeping track of your pieces. You know how doing these kinds of projects requires that organization. All right, I'm going to use my trimmer, and I'm going to cut a portion of this off just to make it easier on myself. All right, here we go. So I fussy cut this one with my scissors, my precision point scissors. But these, at least the outer edges here, I'm going to go ahead and see about cutting with my trimmer. Now remember, I have a point here that I can look at that's going to show me where my blade's going to cut. And if I'm really concerned, I can also use my sightline guides, which are tucked underneath the blue bar housing on either end of my cut bar. So I can bring those up and see that the black line on there is right where I need to cut. And then that way I don't cut something off that I don't want to. The problem with using your trimmer to cut these lines is that you have to know where the trimmer stops. And that can be a little bit trickier when you're talking about a rotating blade, which is what we've got in this. So it is possible, you can do it, but you will end up with some extra little cuts that maybe you don't like. So I'm going to go ahead and go back to my precision cut scissors just to show you, because I like these better. They do take a little bit more time, but again, doing a design like this is not about rushing. It's about making it correct the way that it should be. All right. Because if you are off, then you end up with problems. All right, so here we've got angle number 1. Let me show you how I keep track, okay? With our repositionable adhesive, you know that it just can be rubbed right off of a surface. So I'm going to put a little bit of my repositionable adhesive right in the center of my traced design. Remember, I labeled this angle. This was angle 1. Angle 4 is up here. So I've got angle 1 down here, angle 4 up here. And I'm going to go ahead and place my design, place my cut paper onto the design and just lightly press down over that. All right, so now I've got my first angle. This is for angle number 1, my first point. And this is going to go right in here. I put a little bit of repositionable adhesive on it right there so that it will stay. Okay, so that I don't lose track of which angle I'm cutting. Now I could throw this back in my trimmer if I wanted to make sure I was getting that nice crisp line. This is the kind of cutting that I like to do, like when I'm watching TV or something like that. It's a program that I've seen before, then I will throw the TV on and just do some cutting that I don't have to think too much about because I'm just following the lines. Once I've got it traced on here, of course. Okay, there's one side. Don't ask me why, but for some reason in my brain, I feel like if I cut this portion all along the edge, then cutting the inner portion goes faster to me, which is probably not true. But so for some reason in my head, it feels right. So all right. You can see why having the pencil marks on the other side just helps out, right? Because then all these extra little marks that I'm leaving on here, I don't have to stress about trying to find a good eraser that's not going to leave marks on my paper. And I try to erase. There's number 2. Number 2 is here. I'll go ahead and put that on there. It doesn't have to be perfect when you put it on the pattern, because the pattern's just holding it in place to make it easier for you when you go to put the final project together. This can take a while, so I will probably edit this video so that you don't have to watch me cut all of these. Love you. You too. All right, now we're ready for the second point, the outer points, which I'm going to use the this really pretty shade of blue with the trees on it. Again, we're going to flip it over. It's going to be a little bit tricky to see this one on this print, but we're going to do our best. All right, so let's see here. Pencil. This number one. I'll just use the sides of my template as my straight edge. There we go. It's really hard to see. Hopefully you have really good light when you do this, because it is really tricky on this darker pattern. And we do have oh, you know what? I am so sorry, I'm leading you astray. So one of the things you need to think about, I forgot until just now, is when you're using a pattern that's directional like this one, and this one definitely has a this is up direction to it, you need to keep your template going the same direction. So here we go. This is the part that's hard for me because I hate utilizing or using up a whole piece of paper for something that I feel like I shouldn't have to use a whole piece of paper for it. Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm going to just keep my design going in the appropriate direction and still try to still try to channel it so that it's I like to see my pencil marks. All right, there we go. Okay. So there's number 6. Let's get this over and retrace my number 1. Actually, I don't need to do that because my number 1 is going the right direction. So he'll leave number 1. Number 1 is fine. Okay, number 2. Number 2 is sideways in order to keep those trees going the right direction. So that's number 2. Okay. Number 3. Remember, I just need to keep it going the same direction. So I'm going to try to move it down here just a little bit so that it can, so I'm not using up quite so much of this paper. And you have to also be kind of careful because, as I just did, these really thin parts of your template, you can move those out of the way with your pencil, and you don't want to do that. So this is number 3. And number 4 is going to be, actually, let's do number 5, because number 5 is also vertically challenged, shall we say. So I'm gonna squeeze it in right here. Number 5. Okay. And then we just need to do number 4. Keep it vertical. Now we know how far down we can go with it. I feel like I didn't finish number 6. I can't see that line. I think I may have not gotten it all the way drawn in, which is my bad. I did, I just wasn't looking in the right place. Okay, so sorry about that. Okay, so number 4, I'm going to be careful of where number 5 is drawn. Remember to keep it straight up. This is number 4. So I'm labeling them all. Make sure you're labeling them. And all right, there we go. Now is the tedious part. Now we get to cut them. And I know you can't see my designs that I have traced on here, but and it looks like I wasn't seeing right when I traced that number 2. So I'm gonna need to redo number 2 because it is just too close together. So some food for thought as you're choosing the type of pattern you want to use. What's on the back or what's on the front are important because you have to be able to see to cut the pattern, and if you cannot see it, then you know it's harder. This was not as hard when I did the sample because I could see it so much better. I didn't use this paper in the sample. I did. It's probably because of this exact reason. I just didn't think about it when I was planning my second page. This is what some might call a rookie mistake. Because I don't do templates a whole lot. So learn from my rookie mistake. You look like a pro when you do your templates. All right. Let's see. We've got a couple of them now. All right, there's a number 4. So I'm going to jump over here. 3, 4. This is number 4 up here. This one. Will be number 6. As soon as I get it cut. So again, the cool part about a template is it makes your ideas easier. You don't have to worry about as many of them, but it's rather tedious to cut out. So just keep that in mind. Sorry if I'm taking this out of the frame of the picture. Getting a lot of glare off my paper. My glasses are not liking it very much. This is going to be number 3. Yeah, this video is definitely going to be an edited video, and I hate to do that, but that's just a lot of time. If we don't edit it, you're going to be watching this forever. To redraw number 2 as I too close. So that I can see it. There we go. Let's better not cover. Okay. So what I'm going to do is a white gel pen because I think that will show up here. Since all right, we got. Wow, okay. Pencil. Just so I don't mess it up. Since it matches on the other pencil lines that are on here. Right. All right. Almost done. Then we need to do the pieces around the corners. So you are ready to move on. That's the next step. Okay. Okay. Number 2. That goes there. And all our trees are going in the right direction. Always good to double check. All right. Now, we need to do all of these pieces around the edges. And those pieces I'm going to use this blue paper for. And this blue paper has a really nice white side on the back. It's a really nice, not, the paper is not directional. Even though it does have these grid lines on it, it is okay. And I don't have to be as concerned about making sure the pattern is going the right direction. I do, however, need to make sure this is upside down, which it is. And I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to start these just to the left of angle number 1, which is going to start me here on my pattern. And we're going to work our way around counterclockwise. All right, so we're going to start with our paper upside down. We're going to start, and you know what, if you don't want to cut those straight edges around the corner of that, you don't have to. You can line your paper up with that edge and trace around it. And this is going to be my starting one. So I'm just going to put a 1 that I need. Whoa, hello. Pay attention, Kim. There we go. Shouldn't have to trim that edge because that should be right at the edge of the paper. Yeah. Okay. All right. And now I'm just gonna scoot my page down just a smidge so that I can start that next angle. Okay. And I'm gonna go ahead and I'm not gonna do these middle ones just yet. I'm gonna go ahead and skip and jump over here to the other side. There's a lot of tracing involved in using a template. So this is the right side, this is the left side. That's how I'm gonna label those, okay? Now, we also need these center pieces, but we don't need to use all of the space, all of that paper up there. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm going to put here. Enough room for it right there. Down a bit. Just a little bit. If you know, because there is that little bit of a grid pattern in this paper, if you're concerned at all with that, then you might not want to do that, but this is the right, this is the left. All right, now I'm going to do these up here also. Bring them down a bit. No. This way. Actually, yeah. We'll fit this way. It's a little bit of a puzzle. There's one. And here's the other one. And that way we still have a little bit of our paper left if we need it for something special. All right, and so this is the one on the left, this is the one on the right. Oops. Pardon. This is the one on the left, this is the one on the right. Okay. Now I'm going to use my trimmer because these should be really fast. Actually, I'm not going to use my trimmer. I'm sorry, I keep wanting to use my trimmer, but I feel like I don't know where the exact edge of my blade stops. So I am just going to really quick cut these out. I love my trimmer. It's my right arm, so that's why I keep reaching for it. I'm thinking that it can help me make my job faster. Not this time around, though. Just cutting the pieces that I'm going to need away from the rest of my paper to make it a little bit easier on myself so that I can get in here to these lines, make them nice and crisp. Okay, now this is, again, this is the right side. So this piece, when it flips over, is, oh, you know what? I'm backwards. My right and left are backwards. You know, I think the holidays are getting to me, ladies. All right. There's that piece. Are the holidays getting to you? How's your stress level these days? I know that mine, despite all of my planning, mine is a little higher than I wanted it to be. My sweetheart's been trying to help me. I pile it on myself. So, do you do that? pile on your stress, even when those around you maybe don't expect what you think they expect. It's hard. I think we all do that a lot. Oh dear, dropped it. Just a second. Okay. Recovered. Woohoo. I think it's so easy for us to want to do everything that we start to think that we're a failure if we can't do everything, which is totally not true. Totally not true. Okay, we are getting there. We're rocking it. Halfway done. I feel like I should be telling you a story or something. I don't know what story to tell. So I think it's really fun that we get to do all of these winter related pages for Christmas and the holidays. Part of the reason that it's fun for me is because I grew up in Southern California. We didn't get snow in Southern California. We got sunshine, lots of sunshine. So you grew up in an area that got lots of sunshine, and maybe you still live there. You look at all these pages that have snow on them and kind of go, well, my Christmas has sunshine, maybe a little rain, because in Southern California, the wet season is the Christmas season. It doesn't hardly rain the rest of the year, but it rains usually during Christmas season. My family has lived several places due to my husband's military service. And As a result, we've gotten used to having snow at Christmas. The kids have gotten very used to having snow at Christmas. All right, now you notice I didn't adhere those last few pieces, and that was mainly just for time, so that we can move on to the fun part, putting it all together. So one of the ways you can do this is you can go ahead and just take your template, make sure you know where that Creative Memories stamp is on your template, because that's going to help you determine where the template goes and how to get it on there the correct way. Okay, if you put a little bit of your repositionable adhesive on the back, just a little, you can lightly put it on top of your paper. Now, just doing that, just know there is a possibility you could take some of the color off of your designer paper that's underneath. Sorry about that. You don't have to do it this way. If you would prefer not to, then you don't have to do it this way. Of course, you can do it however you like. That's what these clips are for. You can clip your paper to your template using that. That way your template doesn't shift. Or you can use your eyes and just be careful. I always put my outer pieces on using the template, and then if you want, you can take the template off to allow for more flexibility in your design. If you're good at eyeballing stuff, then that would be good. If you're not good at eyeballing stuff, leave the template on. You're just going to adhere each of these pieces right into its spot. Make sure that you get the points on these, because those, you definitely don't want those coming up or catching on things. And just one by one, you're going to put them down. You could put them down this way. The danger with that is that sometimes as you've cut your piece, it might not be exactly on the line, so you might need to smooth it out eventually, but you can do it. Sometimes it's faster. But then again, remember, this is not a fast layout. This is a layout requiring accuracy, not speed. It's good to lift it up every now and then if you're doing that. I'll see. I don't know if you can see that, but see, I got my color off my page is coming up, which is not great, but is what it is. Since I've already done it, I'm kind of stuck. If you haven't done that, then just don't do that. Don't use your adhesive on your designer paper to adhere that template down. Because it does on some designer papers, not all, but some designer papers, it will leave a mark. Which is unfortunate, but it is what it is. All right, now we're going to start our points. So these points, because we have them continuing and not breaking off, you are going to need to put these on under the template. You can check them kind of a little like that. But you have to lift the template up in order to get to the point. Leave the template down far enough or long enough that you can follow the main line of it. And then you can push it down using your other God-given tools, which are your fingers. Line it up this way, follow it down, make sure it lines up that way, and you can press it down. I'm going to turn this just a little bit as I work my way around here. Okay, that's what I got just a little bit off. trying to give me a hard time. Come on now. Just lining up my straight edges. I think that will work better. Okay, hang on. I need my multi-purpose tool. What I do with it? There it is. All right. And things are just not quite working out. I rely on my multi-purpose tool to help me better guide. Okay. Off just a little bit. And I'm going to just clip this. This. So then it's anchored on one side. Turning it again. I'm going to do these pieces. Here's an awfully pretty design, but again, very tedious. So depends on your preference and your style, what you enjoy, and how you scrapbook. We're around in the corner. Almost done. I know, you're going, wow, why did I start this? But really, you're going to be so pleased when you're done. It's like doing a quilt almost. Really. Because you really have to dedicate the time and the persistence to get a page like this completed. After this page is done, we have 2 more. And I hope that you like them. One of them is a design. Well, both of them are designs I came up with myself. Very different from this one. Templates. You will be happy to know. Again, I'm gonna just line this. I'm gonna align my side edge up and center it. And will be good. So we did before. Works nicely. One more point, and then we can do our center. And embellishments, and we're done. Because there aren't any mats on this piece. You can put mats if you like. I just make my pages so heavy. I choose not to this particular. All right, so we lifted our pattern up, as you can see, and we still have one more that needs to go down, and that's our center star, the circle. It's going to go right here. And our trees are all heading that way, so I know that this is in the right place. That's in the right place. We're just going to put some adhesive on each one of these points. Maybe just a couple in the middle, just because it makes me feel good. All right, and then we're going to center it down. All right. Okay, now you can cut a circular photo to go in the center right here. You can, again, you can use your template and cut photos the shape of the diamonds on the side, if you like. The diamonds that are part of the snowflake. You can really follow whichever line you want to on the template and create, cut your photograph to match those. Okay, so here are my two snowflakes. They're calling these star flakes. And if you have the matching stickers, then you can create some sticker collages to go on your page. You could put this one says today's forecast is flurries. You can do cold hands, warm hearts. Walking in a winter wonderland. Let's see what we can find. Should we go ahead and use our snow person? Or just do some trees to kind of match the trees that are over here. Maybe trees would be good. We use walking in a winter wonderland. And some trees behind it. Tree in the middle. Stickers are super sticky. That's their job. They're supposed to be sticky. Okay, let's put one of All right. So we'll pop this up with some foam squares. Everything's better popped up with foam squares. Looks nice. Really hoping that my runny nose issues subside before the holiday hits. That would really not be super fun to have a runny nose for Christmas. This little divots. I always feel like these have a little bit of static click when I take them off. All right. This is gonna go right here. Hopefully the seed spot was over this side. And then we probably should do some snowflakes, just like we had snowflakes. Page. Snowflakes. Places. Square. Stupid. But a couple more, I think, probably. Do this one. And this one. Okay, let's right here. Not totally sure which pictures I'm going to use. Is that all right? What about that? So a tiny little film square. And I believe that's it. You could put a title in the center. You could share these parts right here and do your foam squares on your title. Maybe cut it in half, or use one of these dark squares in the corner as your journal box. What else look good? I hope you enjoyed this. I know it is a little bit tedious, but if you hung in there and you're here at the end and you're seeing the final product, I hope you see that these templates can be really fun and very worthwhile. And they come together pretty quick once you have all the pieces put together or pieces cut. So I hope you enjoyed this, and I look forward to seeing you for our next to last of our 12 days of Christmas layouts. I will be back with that tomorrow, and that'll be day number 11. Hopefully you're finding some time to create with your children and to carve out a creative moment here or there for yourself during this holiday season. See you tomorrow.